welcome to today's webinar on AI, and thank you again for joining. My name is Michael Crook. I'm the Director of User Experience here at Medtrics. So without any further ado, I'm going to ask our panelists to turn their videos on, and I'm going to kick it to our host and CMO, Marcus Grimm, who'll lead us through this discussion today. Marcus, take it away.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks everyone for joining us today. This one is going to be a lot of fun. Welcome everyone to this program. This one is going to be super fun. For those of you that have not been living under a rock for the past 2 years, what have we all been talking about? We've been talking about artificial intelligence, AI, all those other special tools that are out there. It seems like every day we're learning more and more about what AI can do and what we can't do with it. But at the end of the day, it's always about what are the use cases that actually work for us, right? So we want to be talking about how we can use ChatGPT and other AI tools specifically for UME and GME. So we've got as the people start coming in here to the webinar, we're thrilled to have you all with us today. My name is Marcus Grimm. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here, joined today by Santosh Cherian, who everybody knows. He's the CEO of Medtrics, and we'll be running much of this presentation today. And if you didn't hear in the last webinar, Katie Garrity is back, the Institutional Onboarding Specialist, or as I called her in our last one, the ringer. She comes deep out of the industry, folks. She's done a lot of the same things that you have, so we'll be learning from Katie today as well. Let's go one slide forward and take a look at this agenda. And folks, I hope you've strapped in, because we're gonna have a lot of fun in this one. As always, listen, it's a big agenda, right? So we are recording it. I assume Michael's recording it. Michael, if you're not recording it, make sure you hit the record button, but I bet he already has. Keep the questions coming in. We've got a Q&A panel here. We will probably be holding most of the questions till the end, unless it fits right with where we are. We might roll into it as they come out. We're going to be going first into a little bit of background into Gen AI and exactly what it is and what it isn't, because we want to dispel some of the misconceptions that are out there. We're actually going to be showing you some of the tools that myself and the other members of the Medtrics team use on a daily basis. And we'll be kind of walking you through a little bit of a crawl, walk, run scenario. We're going to be showing you some basic examples of how our team uses ChatGPT right inside the ChatGPT portal. But then we're also going to be moving on to something that's called a custom GPT. Maybe some of you are familiar with it, maybe not, but we'll be going over that today as well. And then, of course, hey, it is a Medtrics webinar, and so we'd like to make sure that you understand how these different tools are being seemingly on a daily basis. Tosh and the team are adding more and more AI capabilities right inside the platform. You're going to see me talking fast today, because I want to make sure we get to that thing at the end, which is a new product announcement from Medtrics, which you can see right there. It's called Medtrics.ai. Let's go on to the next slide here and keep things moving. So for those of you that maybe haven't heard from me before, I'm one of the hosts of MedEdge, which is a podcast that we have out specifically to the UME and GME community. We started this one in January, and it has been a lot of fun. We've had some of the most popular speakers in UME and GME appear on this program. All kinds of really, really interesting stories they've been sharing, and not just seasoned professionals like yourselves. We're also running a series right now where we talk to a handful of medical students right after match day. I mean, these young men and women were just coming out of that match day process. And so we kind of wanted to learn what it was like from their side, because we know what it's like from our side, right? It's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. Anyhow, that's the QR code right there, or you can go to YouTube or Spotify, wherever you get your shows. But Tosh and I would certainly love to have you join us on that. What's the next slide? Let's keep it going, Tosh. Keep it moving for me. Oh, and we've got another guest in the house today. In addition to doing MedEdge, we've been bringing you all sorts of stories from leaders on the MedEdge program, but we're going to actually be bringing some of them on to do webinars with you as well. And Natasha Brox, who is joining us today, I don't know if she'll get a chance to talk. The agenda is so darn full, but she's here as a panelist. And she's actually going to be hosting her very first show with us August 15th. That's part of our new MedEdge Academic Leadership Series. And boy, that's going to be a timely one. Mid-August, Natasha will be talking about managing the academic timeline. If you don't know who Natasha is, she is a GME leader of GME Admin Insights. Anything that you want to know about the industry, she is a big voice in the industry, and we're thrilled to welcome her as a consultant and a communicator for the Medtrics team. We're going to be having a lot of fun with Natasha. So thank you, Natasha, for joining us today. All right, we're going to keep things moving. What's my next slide here? All right, so here we go. We've already gone through the welcome and introduction. So now we're going to be talking about understanding Gen AI and Transformers, which all I know about Transformers, it was a really entertaining movie that I took my kids to several years ago. But I think Tasha's going to be putting another spin on it. The man needs no introduction, but I'll give him anyway. Tosh Cherian, are you telling me you can simplify AI into like 4 or 5 slides? Is that the goal here?
Absolutely. That's, we can simplify it and get a basic understanding of how all these tools work. This is a part of the talk that came out of some of the discussions that I had with my residents. In addition to working as a CEO of Medtrics, I also have a faculty position at Temple University Hospital as a radiologist. And AI has been a hot topic in residency and medical schools. So one of the big things about AI is it's hard to, it's easy to use, but it's hard to understand how it works under the hood. And that's what I want to talk about in this first section. But before I get there, I do want to also emphasize that leadership series that we mentioned here. This is going to be a monthly academic leadership series that Natasha is going to be presenting over the next year. So we're going to be sending out a list of upcoming topics. And this is the first topic that we're going to be doing. And Natasha, do you want to say anything about what you're going to be presenting over the next year?
Sure. I will be presenting anything that the GME community needs. So it's going to be topics about, of course, the calendar. We're going to do anything that's leadership, the growth, coordinators. We're going to do topics that cover professional development, growth, leadership, anything that's going to strengthen the program coordinators or administrators to grow in their field, and to give them just some strength and some backing and some knowledge and some go-to for them.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm very excited about that because I think this is something that the medical education community could benefit from, where someone who's been doing this for many years and have a lot of insider information to pass that knowledge into others who may be earlier in their career or want to improve their skills in managing various training programs. So thank you for being on the call today and for that intro. So getting started with the generative AI, this is a slide that summarizes the whole key concepts of AI. And when we talk about AI, the artificial intelligence, it's a very broad terminology that can be used to describe any type of computer, any computers mimicking human intelligence. So back in the day when Steve Jobs introduced the Macintosh, it said hello to Steve Jobs and said he's like a father to me. But at that time, all it was doing was playing back a pre-programmed text-to-speech simple program that is just replaying what it was coded to do. There was no intelligence behind it. But at that time, that was still considered artificial intelligence because mimicking what humans can do. Within that field of artificial intelligence, there is specifically machine learning. Machine learning has to do with taking certain types of data and training an algorithm to make predictions on new data based on what it was trained on. So an example of this is we'll be creating an algorithm that can predict the price of houses in a neighborhood. So you take all the costs of the recently sold houses, how many rooms they had, and you train a model. And then if you ask it to predict another house's estimated price, it'll give you that value. So that's the field of machine learning. Within the field of machine learning, there is something called deep learning. Deep learning specifically has to do with training computers using an algorithm called neural networks. Neural networks are essentially a mathematical model that was created or inspired after human neurons, where you have the algorithm calculate probabilities in a sequence so that it's able to learn or predict more complex outcomes. So for example, when you go on Google and go to Google image search, it's using a very complex neural network to make predictions on what type of results you should be seeing. Or you open up Netflix and you see recommendations. It's using a complex neural network to give you those recommendations. And then recently, there's a specific type of neural network that was developed to generate content and that's why it's called generative AI. Previously, it was more about predicting based on what the data it was trained on. Now it's able to generate new data based on what it was trained on. And an example of this is ChatGPT. It's trained on a portion of the text on the internet, and now it's able to interact with you and have a conversation because it's generating responses based on your questions. On the right side, I have a few things that I mentioned here. Neural network, transformer. I'm going to go through that in the next slide. And generative pre-trained transformer, GPT, is related to what ChatGPT is using, especially a special type of transformer that's used to generate text. So to recap, there are two major buckets when it comes to AI. There is discriminative AI, which is you're training the computer to make predictions on whatever input you're going to give. An example of that housing, predict the price of a house. Or in this example that I have here, facial detection. When you open up your iPhone, the neural network in there is trained to recognize the features of your face so that it unlocks for you. Then there's generative AI, where AI can generate content. And here's a great example of a website you can go to, thispersondoesnotexist.com. All of these faces were generated by AI models. These individuals do not exist. So it's not facial recognition, it's face generation based on all the faces that it was trained on. So this now leads to this concept called transformers. And I'm going to briefly describe what it is. In 2017, Google Brain team published a paper called Attention is All You Need. And this is what started the whole revolution of generative AI. And this paper showed the world how to use a neural network to convert text into numbers and then use those numbers to make new text and then give it back to the humans. So this new type of neural network is what has revolutionized the world of AI, and more research have done, and the more complicated transformers have been developed since then. But this is the paper that kickstarted all of it. And I'm going to try to explain how this works using this analogy. It's a very simplified analogy. When you look at a map of the United States, and if you put a grid on it, like the longitude and latitude, but these numbers on here, I don't think this is a simple grid with numbers on it. But if you look at where New York is and where Boston is, if you look at the X and Y axis and get those two values, Boston and New York, if you subtract those values, means that there's gonna give you a very small difference between those values. But if you look at the difference between where New York is and where California is, the difference between those values is going to be much higher. That's how transformers turn sequential data into numbers. So if you give the transformer a sentence, different words in that sentence is going to be turned into numbers, and the relationship between those words may have different values to represent that relationship. So for example, if you train the model on a question like, it is sunny outside, the relationship between it is sunny, each of those words are going to be embedded into a number, and the distance between those values is going to be variable based on how those words are connected and to create a structured sentence. And here's a slightly more technical explanation. It is also very simplified, but if you look at a transformer, and I'm asking a question, what does AAMC stand for? It contains something called an encoder, that's going to turn it into a vector, which is a series of numbers. And then there's a vector space with all of the data that it's been trained on. It's basically all the different values, and then it's going to use that input. So I guess the simplest way to look at it is turning English language into a language that the computer can understand, and then the computer is going to generate an output, and it's going to create sentences one word at a time. And the only thing that the AI can do is predict the next appropriate word based on what the input was and what the previously predicted word was. So it's going to respond. AAMC is an acronym for the American Association of Medical Colleges. But in order for the computer to respond, it had to use the encoder to convert it into numbers, and then use the response. It comes back in also in vectors and numbers, and the decoder turns it back into English language that you can understand. So when you talk to ChatGPT, this is what is happening, but at a very large scale, where you have billions of these vectors and billions of parameters that are being looked at to generate that response.
A great summary, Tosh. Thank you. Let's move on now. I just have one slide on this, which is AI strategy at the enterprise level, because I think this kind of gets to a lot of the questions that a lot of us are asking right now. We're going to be showing you some links of some different tools here coming up. But at the end of the day, the question often becomes, how does this technology work? Is our data at risk? Because as Tosh just showed you right there, to get any type of a response from generative AI, you need to put your data into it. And I think we all saw when ChatGPT first came out, all these concerns about, well, I'm dumping data into it. So what are the different security concerns that we have out there? So if we go on to the next slide, 3 quick questions that we would recommend that you do for any tools that you're looking at as it relates to AI. Who is behind the product is a great one. And I think about Tosh just showing that example of this person does not exist. And it's great technology, right? But I have no idea who coded it or who developed it. And maybe there's no security concerns at all. But obviously, at the end of the day, you want to figure out, okay, who are the people behind these different technologies that are out there? What is their location? What is their background? Sometimes when this technology crosses country lines, there's certain concerns about that. So we always at Medtrics, we talk about people, process, platform. Number one is you want to be looking at the people. Can they actually be trusted? Ensure the team has relevant experience and qualifications in AI and healthcare. I don't know if any of you have experimented with a lot of these tools, but these answers can come back relatively generic, and they may not be taking into account the particular context of those of us in the UME and GME space. So, are we talking to people that actually understand the nuances of our industry? That is very, very important. And then a third one that I want to mention on here is, where is that data stored? So when you're feeding information into ChatGPT or anyone else, are you handing your data over to them? Now, 2 points about that. First thing is, everything with AI right now is changing really, really fast. So as I think about ChatGPT, for instance, the very first version that came out, yes, your data went in and it was being shared across the entire network. Tasha is going to show us, though, that a click of a button and that doesn't need to happen these days. So pay attention, because things are changing really, really fast. But at the end of the day, those are the questions you want to be starting with, right, Tosh?
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to AI, one of the things that I like to do is go to a company's page and see if they have an About Us page on their website, because there are hundreds of, even probably thousands of companies that are coming up. And at Medtrics, we are extremely cautious about what we use, because we are being trusted with data from various organizations, Social Security numbers and all kinds of information. So we were very careful about even meeting, if we want to record a meeting, we want to make sure what tools are being used for that. The first thing I check for is what's on their About Us page. If you look at a lot of new AI tools that are coming up quickly, you don't even have an About Us page. All you see is the product details. I want to know who's behind it. Are they, for us, for example, are they in the United States? Is the data going to be stored in the United States? And can that team be trusted with our data? So that's usually the first thing to check, and the most important, especially with all this emerging technology that has spurred a lot of startups. And then once that is credible, then we can go into the product and decide if that's going to be helpful for us to solve the immediate business problem.
Let's take a look, Tosh. One of the things that we're going to be showing here in a little bit different ways the team here at Medtrics uses AI, and sometimes it's going out to ChatGPT. But let's take a look at this next slide that we have here. This is just an example of many of the technologies that we're using here across the team. By the way, this slideshow you're actually watching right now was created in Beautiful.ai, which is an AI software platform that will actually generate a slide presentation based on your bullet points. Obviously, it's like anything else we're seeing from AI now. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But the goal is, can we save 80 or 90% of our time? You see Fathom up there. Katie's going to be talking in a little bit. The team uses Fathom for taking meeting notes. And when you're an onboarding specialist like Katie is, you want to make sure that you're capturing everything from the agenda. So we're seeing usage like that. Claude obviously is considered to be a slightly more human version of AI that's out there. But Michael's on this presentation as well. You've already heard from him. Michael, talk to me about how you and the team use Loom and Canva.
So yeah, as far as Canva goes, we use it. It really frees up our creatives to quickly generate branded assets of all sorts, so that that could otherwise be tedious. So that'll help us get things off the ground pretty quickly. A significant shortcut for us. And then Loom, we use in a different way. So regarding Loom, we use it to detail different specifications for the features that we build here at Medtrics. So how we do this, we generate transcripts and then use them from those Loom recordings. And then that basically creates like a summary for our developers. We then break that down even further into steps and tasks, resulting in a more comprehensive specification for our developers. So there are two of the ones that we use daily here at Medtrics.
Excellent. So that's an example of some of the custom programs that we use. Now we're going to walk you through, we're going to show you one slide just about ChatGPT in its basics, but then we're going to go on to some more advanced things and eventually end up inside the Medtrics product. But now one of the things that I mentioned earlier was you want to be concerned about, it's your data, right? So how do you protect your data? Tosh, it's a lot easier than it used to be. Show people how to do it.
Yeah, so ChatGPT has a free version. When it comes to business or any sort of work use, you don't want to use the free version, because the free version, you're giving permission for OpenAI to use what you enter into ChatGPT to train their models, which they need to do to make better versions of ChatGPT and their in the future. However, when you're dealing with medical education, healthcare, none of that data should be used for training GPT. So if you get the business version or even the enterprise version, then you can control what type of data is shared with OpenAI and the data retention, as well as manage all of your users. So for example, at Medtrics, none of our team members are using the free version. Everybody has a subscription to the paid version. And then we have, from an organization account turned off the ability for the model to be, the ChatGPT interface to be sharing data with OpenAI for training their models. So that's something key that leadership should be looking into when you're deploying these kind of tools.
It's very, very well said. Now, at this point, we're going to welcome Katie Garrity to the program. And Katie's going to show you, and I'm sure many of you have been experimenting with ChatGPT, but Katie's going to show you some examples just right inside ChatGPT of how the Medtrics team really started refining these tools, and then we'll show you how we've evolved those tools over time. So let's go on to the next slide here. Katie, welcome to the program, and just walk us through what we're seeing here on this first screen.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. The following use cases demonstrate how ChatGPT and other AI tools can significantly enhance efficiency, accuracy, and productivity in medical education administration. First, we will look at enhancing student evaluations by reviewing preceptor comments. Before I dive into this example, the screenshot that you see on the left with sample student evaluation data, the names in that file are completely made up. I used ChatGPT to generate a sample file, and none of this data is real. I simply used it to make this use case. Medtrics never enters student names in ChatGPT, and as we mentioned earlier in this presentation, all individuals should follow their program policies and procedures when it comes to sharing data with AI tools. The goal in this use case is to easily review student performance on clinical rotations. ChatGPT can quickly take evaluation exports from Medtrics or other platforms, as well as files, and analyze them for your needs, whether that be for internal program review or preparing accreditation documentation. Those are just two of many examples. For this demonstration, I told ChatGPT, this is a document that contains preceptor evaluation comments about medical student performance in clinical rotations. Pretend to be a medical school dean. This portion of the prompt is asking ChatGPT to assume a persona, and we are giving it the context necessary to provide good results. Analyze the comments and provide a summary. Indicate positive feedback, negative feedback, and any high-risk comments that require additional investigation, for example, mistreatment of students. I attached the sample evaluation file of fake data for this use case, and ChatGPT produced the result you see on the right. We can clearly see the positive, negative, and high-risk groupings of students, as well as the rotation and preceptor details. You have the ability to fine-tune the prompt to meet your program's needs. You can focus on certain rotations, students, or just the high-risk comments. This snapshot of evaluations can save time and highlight areas for improvement or action, which is especially true if you have evaluation data housed in multiple systems. Sharing multiple files with ChatGPT can enhance your efficiency in reviewing student performance with a unified report.
I love, Katie, that you mentioned whatever format you have it in, that it can be simple copy paste of text, upload a CSV. I've even taken screenshots and popped it in there. Does a very, very good job of it. Let's
Marcus,
go on.
I want to point out a couple of security things here too for everybody to keep in mind. You know, with this example, what Katie did was she wrote mock data. This is not real student data, so she wanted to show how it can be done. If you attempt to do this on your organization, you want to make sure that you have purchased the appropriate license with the ChatGPT, so that because student data is FERPA, it's protected by FERPA laws, so you cannot share that without appropriate controls in place. But you can consider if you want to copy comments without the names in it, maybe that's something that your organization is approved to do. But everything that we're going over, you want to make sure that there is some sort of IT approval so that FERPA laws are not being broken. At Medtrics, none of our team members are allowed to put any client data into ChatGPT because your data is protected under FERPA and our agreements with you. So keep that in mind. And this prompt that Katie pointed out, I really like this because it highlights how you want to structure these prompts. It gives the AI context, where it's saying this is a document that contains preceptor evaluation comments. It's also giving the AI some instructions on how to look at the data, pretend to be a medical school dean. Now the AI is going to factor in certain things because it should be responding as a medical school dean, not someone else, some other business analyst. So that context is very important, and the quality of the data that you get back. And then finally, the instructions at the bottom.
Katie, walk us through this one briefly. And for those of you that are Medtrics customers, you may have actually heard that AI prompting is now part of you can get it as part of the Medtrics platform. But again, if you aren't a Medtrics customer, you could do something similar inside ChatGPT. Just walk us through it real quick.
Okay, so the second use case focuses on AI prompting for curriculum mapping. So this would be great if you are wanting to draft a change in a course. So for example, in Medtrics, you might have your curriculum, syllabi, and course content, or located in another platform. But in this case, some of your content is only located in recorded lectures, and you want to extract that information. So in order to move that through your approval process, you are wanting to obtain the course lecture objectives, keywords, other important information. So using ChatGPT, I have attached the video transcript from a pathophysiology lecture to tease out that detail. And the prompt here speaks to that. Analyze this transcript, provide me with the following: a 1-paragraph summary, lecture objectives, and then 5 keywords that can be found in the mesh keywords. And I gave a link to the website. So you could use any list that you want. You could replace this with competencies, but the key point with adding this link to a website, ChatGPT will go find that list for you. You don't have to go back to your email or bookmark for where you kept your mesh terms. Let it do that groundwork for you and then revise your prompt based on your knowledge and experience. So once I submitted that prompt, I received the results on the right side of the screen. And you'll see we clearly got what we asked for, a detailed summary, maybe too detailed for whatever your purpose is. You might want to go in and adjust that prompt given your audience or role. We have the objectives and the mesh keywords. So the same process in ChatGPT can be used to bring in other pieces of data to make a curricular decision. So you could add meeting minutes where you discussed revising the curriculum. You could bring in a transcript from a Fathom recording and compile those two things together to get the result that you need.
Great example, Katie. Thank you for sharing with that. Now, Katie just shared 2 great examples of what prompting looks like. Sometimes we call that prompt engineering, but you find that if you use ChatGPT a lot, you're going to have all these text prompts that you have. And after a while, you're cataloging all these different questions that you may find yourself asking ChatGPT on a regular basis. And so that brings us to the second way that you can think about AI, which is what's known as a GPT. And simply put, GPT are examples where we take these custom codes that we've built and we kind of turn them into mini apps, if you will, so that you could have an app for automated curriculum building. These are pre-built custom versions that, for instance, might be all about how do I do curriculum mapping. And you can actually put these no different than the Apple App Store in the GPT App Store, and you can customize them for your own organization and your own needs. So Katie just showed you what it looks like to talk to ChatGPT, get a result. A GPT then is a bundled series of prompts that allows you to complete a specific task, and it's been honed for that task. And actually, Tasha is going to show you on the next screen. Medtrics has 2 GPTs available that anyone can use that they want. And it's been part of our evolution as we've been using AI as well. So Tosh, do you want to walk us through those 2 GPTs?
Yep, absolutely. And one thing to add also, this is what the ChatGPT store looks like. You can go in there and search similar to the way that you search on Apple App Store and find custom GPTs from different companies. But the more powerful thing as an organization is you can build these GPTs and share it with your team. So you can see here at the bottom, there is a couple of things that we've been experimenting with, an announcement for when we have a new client starting to have a standardized way that we can structure it. But this is only available to our team. But we have, I did this in preparation for this webinar. I created a couple of GPTs and published it to the OpenAI App Store so that anyone in the audience can go use it. The first one is the Medtrics Medical Education Objective Generator that will allow you to simply copy and paste the transcript, upload a PowerPoint slide or a document, and it'll extract objectives and keywords and give that response back to you. So all you have to do is upload the file and it'll give you the results. That's something for UME. On the GME side, when we work with residency programs and program directors, one of the things that we see them spending a lot of time doing is mapping and creating customized questions that are aligned with ACGME's milestones. I myself am an emergency radiologist. I work with radiology residents. And if you ask me more clinically relevant questions about how my residents are doing, can they diagnose a stroke on a head CT, I'm more likely to answer that than if you give me the long academic jargon that's on the ACGME's milestones. So with this kind of tool that we've put together, you can generate personalized evaluations for your rotations. So let me show you how that's done. So the first thing here is the App Store here. And if you look at one of our GPTs, you can see I'm going to show you a demo of it, but I also want to show you how to create a new GPT. So you simply go to create and you give it a name and you put in instructions. Essentially what you're going to tell the GPT to do is when you get an input, what do you want to do with it? So Katie showed you a couple of prompts, so you can put that in here so that every time you're submitting a document, it's going to do something with that and respond to you. You can also enable different capabilities. Do you want that GPT to be able to browse the web? So in Katie's example, she showed you how you can have GPT go out to the NIH website and pull in mesh terms. However, you may not want that for all of your GPTs that you're releasing to your organization. You want to be able to generate images. And then the last thing here is code interpreter and data analysis. If you want users to be able to upload files and attachments, you want this to be enabled. So let me give you a quick demo of what this ACGME milestone evaluation generator and how it works. So we all, if you're in the GME world, you're familiar with the ACGME's milestones. And if you're in the UME world, you probably know that milestones for UME are on their way too, or you may have written institutional level competencies. So either way, you can take those milestones or competencies, and we created this in a way that you don't have to do anything with it other than attach that PDF and give it some context as to what you want the evaluation you want the AI to generate. So I can say create an evaluation for that I can use in ICU rotation for PGY 3 internal medicine residents. So now what AI is doing is it's analyzing all the text that's on that PDF, and then it's generating this evaluation form for me. So essentially what it's doing is writing the question. These are the responses or the options, and it's also giving you the mapping to the ACGME's milestones. So another way that you can tackle this problem is to take your syllabus and upload it and say, create a personalized evaluation for our inpatient wards using this syllabus and the ACGME's milestones, and map those questions to the appropriate subcompetency. So within a few seconds, you can have the questions that are personalized to each rotation and have those questions mapped to the milestones. And if you're using Medtrics, you can take these mappings and map these questions directly to the milestones in Medtrics, and then that gives that allows you to see the milestones dashboard and see how residents are progressing on those milestones over a period of time. So this information can then be used in Medtrics for competency management over the length of their career. I think I see some hand raised there. I'm not sure if I can.
Yeah, actually, Gary had a question. Well, he was actually just giving a suggestion, saying that he would lean towards coding student names before submitting to a ChatGPT.
Yeah. That's a great idea. That's a great suggestion, Gary. Where you could take, similar to when you do research projects and you want to anonymize the patient's information, you could take the student data and use Excel to create some sort of unique identifier for each student, and then feed that into AI, AI tool. When you get the response, you can use that unique identifier to map that response back to the student. So you're protecting the identity of the student and not sharing that with OpenAI. All right, Marcus, let's
Absolutely. Yeah, let's keep going here. And I appreciate that we had another question in about the advantage of using an API, which is great because we're getting up to the point in the program where we're actually going to be talking about how the Medtrics team is integrating a lot more of these capabilities into the Medtrics platform. And how do you do that? Well, you do it with APIs. Let's go on to the next slide here. I'll take this one, Tosh, so we can get into the product. But here's how Medtrics thinks about AI strategy. And I have to tell you, the fourth grader in me who won this spelling bee is upset that I spelled tedious wrong there in the middle. I'm going to blame AI for that one. But that being said, there are three things that we think about at Medtrics as it relates to AI. The first is human in the loop. Nothing you're going to see Medtrics do from an AI perspective is going to let AI run autonomously. We believe two things. First off, what we do is far too important to just let technology handle it by itself. But secondly, we also believe that technology is rapidly changing. So we want to make sure that we're keeping up with those changes. So as Tosh demonstrates AI to you, you're going to see the ability all along the way to take the recommendations AI gives you or ignore those. So that's point number one. Point number two is we believe that the way for you to best spend your time is with your students, is with your residents, is working on real ways that you can bring value to your organization. So everything that we're going to be showing you that you can do with AI inside Medtrics are examples of things that we believe are just automating repetitive tasks throughout the day. And then the final thing is, we also felt that as we were using ChatGPT as an organization, we found ourselves bouncing in and out of the Medtrics platform into ChatGPT. And when we talk about the toll, obviously, of task switching and how that prevents people from being able to focus on the task in front of them. So the goal for Tosh and the product team was, how do we actually take these products and integrate them into Medtrics? So even though Tosh showed you those GPTs, we would love if you use them. We believe that at the end of the day, the way to make those tools even more valuable for you is to keep them inside the platform. So Tosh, anything to add to that before we go on to the next slide?
No, you summarized it. And the only thing I would add here is, any data that is in the system, nothing will be saved without human input. That's the human in the loop part. And then, when it comes to most technology, it's going through this evolution where AI is the new baseline. We should be using AI in software tools, and the integrated solution is also the key. AI is not the selling point of Medtrics. AI is a nice to have enhancements that cut down on tedious work, but the platform and the unified processes that we have in there, and what we're doing is picking specific workflows that are tedious for our customers and targeting them. And I'll share some examples. This is something that we introduced at the last AAMC conference. A lot of our clients, they have their UME clients, they have their curriculum mapped down to the course level, where they have the institutional objectives mapped to the AAMC's PCRS. They have the program level objectives mapped to the course objectives. But when it comes to each lecture and the small group sessions, they have objectives, but often faculty don't have the time to map it because it's very tedious and annoying, in my opinion. As a faculty, I've never been trained on how to map objectives, and it takes a lot of time. But with this addition that we did, you can click a button. Medtrics would analyze all of these course objectives and recommend which of those align with your session objectives. And then you can approve it, and it gets saved. And then now, once it's saved, it plugs into all of the rest of the functionality we have, and you can see the reporting on it. But faculty can spend a lot less time mapping it. A second thing that we worked on this year, this is actually not released to all of our clients yet. We've been working on it with specific clients that is using our. So here's an example of even though we use beautiful AI, it's all human generated content, because when I put this example on here, I didn't update the title at the top. But this is going to be MSPE comment cleanup. So across the country, deans and administrators clean up thousands of these MSPE comments, because when preceptors submitting them, sometimes they misspell things, they use incomplete sentences. With this new tool, we take those original comments, revise it, and fix it up with proper spelling, grammar, without changing the meaning of that original comment, and give the deans and the administrators exactly what was modified, and also perform a sentiment analysis so that deans can decide whether they want to accept this and use it in the MSPE letter, or they want to manually tweak this. So this saves a ton of time when it comes to generating MSPE letters at the medical schools. This is actually not coming soon in the next few weeks. It's already finished. This is more for our GME clients, because in GME, a lot of our chief residents and administrators constantly have to update the clinical schedules when there is a change in the shift or a change in the rotation because a resident has to take time off. And you have to go into a page and click a bunch of buttons and make those changes. With this new interface, we're going to give the administrators and the chief residents a way to simply use natural language to interact with the schedules. So you can see here, add John Dorian to this clinic rotation from August 1st to August 31st. AI will analyze that and apply and ask you to confirm that is what your intention is, and you can just simply click confirm, and it'll update the schedule. Same thing for removing something from the schedule. This is going to be more and more functionality added to our scheduling module, so it's a lot easier to modify and build schedules and not have to use all the menus and buttons that we have used in the past.
It's a great summary, Tosh. Thank you. And we're up to our final the final thing that we're going to be talking about today. Please keep those Q&As coming in, and we'll get them all here in just a minute. But we did want to talk about one of the statements that I made before was the idea that a lot of these things are happening inside the Medtrics platform. But I wasn't quite right about that one, because this one coming up is actually something that you can buy and you can use outside of the Medtrics platform. It's something that Tosh has been really excited about talking about. We haven't released this yet. This is exciting new news, so he's going to enjoy sharing this with you. But it's a new product announcement that we're calling Medtrics.ai. Tosh, why don't you show us what this one looks like?
Yeah, we recently acquired a full AI product from another company where it allowed us to accelerate the development of our own AI tool for enterprise use cases. And let me show you what that is going to be able to do. Your teams, whether it's a hospital or medical school, vet school, nursing school, it's going to be able to create, this is a completely standalone product, doesn't have to be a Medtrics user. Eventually, we're going to have it integrated with Medtrics. But if you are, let's say, a medical education administrator and you have residents that are starting, and you want to give all the preceptors some sort of tool to know what all the policies and expectations are. Currently, you have to give them a PDF or Word document or a link to some website where you can read all of that. But most people don't have the time to read it, and they usually need that information on demand when they're looking for something. So with this new tool, you're going to be able to log in, load your own proprietary information, whatever it may be, documents, PDF, and then build a custom chatbot that allows your team members to access it securely and ask questions about your data. So it could be, for example, student handbook bot. So medical students going in there and asking questions about all their policies and other expectations. Another one for clinical preceptors. Maybe you want to have something for accreditation requirements so that new coordinators are able to ask questions about how the ACGME's accreditation process works. But it is all going to be within a controlled environment where the data is protected, and you have the ability to grant access to specific individuals, to specific bots. And it is going to be powered by one of these three models: OpenAI, which is what ChatGPT is built on, Google's Gemini, or Claude. And each client can pick which of these tools you want to use based on your preferences. So we're very excited about this coming soon. It's going to be launching on Medtrics.ai. So this is a preview of what that's going to look like.
It's great, Tosh. Thank you. We had a lot to go over today, and somehow we made it a couple minutes late. We've got some questions here, Tosh. The first one is right back on that curriculum mapping feature. Whether you said that the automated curriculum mapping feature within Medtrics can map objectives to competencies and competencies.
So we do have competencies and sub-competencies in the system, but we have not added the ability to automatically map yet. That is one of the projects that is lined up in our roadmap, where if you have questions that you have already created in the system, right now you have to go in and say which sub-competencies they should map to. But similar to what I showed you in the system where in ChatGPT, you're going to be able to click a button and map to the appropriate sub-competencies in the future.
Excellent. We got another question from Gary, Tosh, and I think this one is related to one of the topics that we talked about a bit, which is privacy and security of data. Have you experimented at all with Llama to keep AI data on local systems, or how's Medtrics thinking about that?
Yeah, so our developers have run Llama locally, and it is something that we haven't had the need to do it yet because OpenAI's, and I think it ties back to one of the questions about API. If you're a software company that like us that's working with these platforms using the API, the data is already protected using the agreements, and then any clients that is going to be using it in Medtrics, this is something that is going to be in our agreement as long as you're okay with it. But Llama, it is for the use cases of medical education, it is cost prohibitive for us to be running that for because it's a very expensive thing to run on the cloud. But something like that may be more beneficial for clinical use cases where there is HIPAA requirements. But right now, OpenAI, Gemini, Google, and Anthropic, which makes Claude, their policies and agreements with businesses and software companies covers the privacy that's necessary for medical education data.
Wonderful. It's a great answer. Please keep those questions coming in. Michael left a note in the chat. We certainly, as we begin to wrap up here, please leave us a survey at the end. Give us your results because that helps inform the content that we're doing.
I forgot to mention one thing. You know, when this tool, Medtrics AI, is released in a month, probably a month and a half, we are going to be looking for 5 institutions that maybe be interested in being the early release clients. I think when Mike put that survey together, he has a question on there. If you're interested in it, you can answer that, or if you want to put that into the chat, we can follow up and get you access to it if you want to try it out and be one of the first people to take it for a test drive.
Great. Tosh, what can you tell me? A question just came in the chat from Chris in terms of Medtrics AI being FERPA and HIPAA compliant.
So when it comes to the platform, right now we are not sending any data related to students to for analysis. That is not, it's only any sort of competency data. In the future, if there is a use case where student data needs to be sent, that's something that is going to be updated in our agreements with each of the schools so that we are maintaining that FERPA compliance. And it is something that is going to be done behind the scenes through software, and it's not going to be something that our team members are accessing the student data. And as for HIPAA compliance, Medtrics does not get into a business associate agreement with any of our clients, but our infrastructure is technology is HIPAA compliant security, but we don't put patient data into the system, and we don't sign a business associate agreement. In the future, if there is any ever need for that, that'll be something that we can work with a specific institution to sign that agreement.
Wonderful. Please keep those questions coming in. We'll wrap up here in just a couple minutes. And Natasha, I'm going to put you on the spot. You're going to be doing a big show for us next month, which we encourage people to come to. But I am curious, everything that we've been talking about today is save time, save time, save time. As somebody who does this on a daily basis, talk to us how you see the potential of these tools. Do you feel like, you know, these are the types of tasks that you go in and you think it's going to take 2 minutes by yourself and then it takes 22 minutes? I mean, how are you thinking about using tools like this?
You know, Marcus is crazy because I have been writing down my own notes of how I can use this. This is going to save so much time on getting things together, like especially when we have a new rotation and you have to get the goals and objectives, you have to get the evaluation for, and you have to put it all in. You know, that is time consuming, right? So using this is going to like be half of what we do now. Evaluations, especially for like new programs, and you can make it specifically to that specialty, like or sports medicine, dermatology. You know, you can make those questions specifically for that evaluation, specifically for that evaluation. So it's like, I already have my ideas on how I'm going to use it, especially the chat box. This is going to save so much time. I had no idea about this, and my mind is just like blown away of how I can use this for me. So
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that, and you've got the beautiful. I thought those were fireworks behind you there for a minute, but that's what I saw when I saw Mind Blown. I think we're nearly done with the Q&A here. As we mentioned, we're going to be doing these programs regularly. Natasha's going to be doing her first one with us next month. We've got the MedEd show. There's always learn more at medtrixlab.com. Tosh, do you have anything else to say to this wonderful group of people we've had today before we take it out of here?
No, I mean, the main thing I want to say is don't forget to check out the podcast. And also, we are starting to put together more content related to AI, especially learning how to use these tools, how it works underneath. You can follow us on LinkedIn, because that's going to be where we're going to be sharing it. Katie, Marcus, and I also share a lot of content related to AI on our own LinkedIn. That's going to be the easiest way for us to get you more updates outside of the podcast or these academic leadership webinars.
Wonderful. Very well said. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. On behalf of Natasha, Tosh, Katie, and Michael, I'm Marcus Grimm. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you the next time we do one of these shows. Everyone have a great rest of your day.